First, before we get into the Rudolf Steiner audio excerpt, if you don't have at least an elementary understanding of spiritual science, for example from Steiner himself or other teachers like Dr. Robert J. Gilbert, gain an understanding of this first before you attempt these exercises. You should be grounded in your knowledge and have a good grasp upon the spiritual sciences. Audio created by R. Sockelt Literature. We must first clarify what the foundations of esoteric training actually are and what its essence is. The school to which we belong is organized in such a way that there are different circles within it. All those who are new to the school are seekers. Those who advance further belong to the practitioners. This is followed by the actual training. Our school is divided into these three circles. We have all entered the esoteric school in order to develop certain organs within ourselves that will enable us to experience the higher worlds for ourselves. How does one develop organs within oneself? All our organs were created through our earlier activities. Let us illustrate this with an example. There was a time when we all had no eyes. At that time, human beings moved around floating and swimming in a watery primordial sea. In order to orient themselves, they had an organ that today exists only as a rudiment. This is the so-called pineal gland. It is located in the middle of the head under the skull, slightly turned inward. In some animals, it can be seen when the skull is removed. With this organ, humans in ancient times could perceive whether they were approaching something useful or harmful. Above all, however, it was an organ for perceiving heat or cold. When the sun shone down on the earth in those days, humans could not see it, but the pineal gland drew them to the places in the watery sea where the sun warmed the water. And this warmth gave them a feeling of great bliss. People lingered in such places in the water and came close to the surface so that the sun's rays could reach them. And because the sun's rays fell directly on their bodies, our present eyes were formed. Two things were therefore necessary for eyes to develop. First, the sun had to shine down, and second, people had to swim to the places warmed by the sun and expose themselves to it. If the people of that time had not done this, but had said to themselves, "I only want to develop what is already within me," they would have been able to develop an ever larger pineal gland, a monstrous organ, but they would never have developed eyes. We must think of the development of spiritual eyes in exactly the same way. One must not say, "The higher ones are already within me, I only have to develop them." Those people could not develop the sun out of themselves, but they could develop the organs to see it. In the same way, we can only develop the organs to see the spiritual sun, the higher worlds, but we cannot develop them out of ourselves. And we can never develop these organs unless, on the one hand, the spiritual sun shines upon us, and on the other hand, we hurry to expose ourselves to it so that it can shine upon us. The places where the spiritual sun shines for us are the esoteric schools, and all those who are drawn to the esoteric schools are touched by its rays if they behave in accordance with the instructions of the school. Every organ that had a past will also have a future. The pineal gland will also become an important organ again in the future. And those who are in esoteric schools are already working on their training. The exercises we receive not only affect the astral and etheric bodies, but also the pineal gland. And when the effect becomes very profound, it spreads from the pineal gland into the lymphatic vessels and from there into the blood. But it is not only those who are now doing occult exercises who will have a developed pineal gland in the future, but all human beings. And in the people who will make up the evil race, it will be an organ for the worst and most terrible impulses and will be so large that it will make up most of the body. Just as one sees many mosquitoes from a distance as a swarm of mosquitoes, so then, with so many gland-like human bodies wandering around on Earth, one would be able to see the Earth itself as a large gland from outer space. But for those who develop their pineal gland in the right way, it will be a noble and perfect organ. Now let us take a closer look at the exercises we have been given, bearing in mind that it is these exercises that make our souls receptive to the spiritual rays of the sun. The 6 supplementary exercises serve, in a sense, as preparation for the actual occult exercises. If one devotes oneself to them with the right seriousness and zeal, They create the basic constitution of the soul that is necessary to reap the right fruits from the occult exercises. 1. Thought control. Every day, set aside at least 5 minutes to think about something as insignificant as possible, something that does not interest you at all, and logically connect everything that can be thought about that object. It is important that it be an insignificant object, because it is precisely the effort one must make to remain focused on it for a long time that awakens the dormant abilities of the soul. After some time, one notices a feeling of stability and security in the soul. However, one should not imagine that this feeling will overwhelm one violently. No, it is a very delicate, subtle feeling that one must listen for. Those who claim that they cannot feel this feeling at all are mostly like those who go out to look for a very small, delicate object among many other objects. They search but only superficially, and so they cannot find the small object but overlook it. You have to listen very quietly within yourself, then you will feel this feeling, and it occurs mainly in the front part of the head. Once you have felt it there, pour it into your brain and spinal cord in your mind. Gradually, you will feel rays emanating from the front of your head into your spinal cord. 2. Initiative to act. To do this, you must choose an action that you think up yourself. For example, if you chose watering a flower as an activity, as suggested in the instructions, you are doing something completely pointless. The action should come from your own initiative, so you must have thought it up yourself. Then, during this exercise, a feeling soon becomes noticeable, such as, I can achieve something, I am more capable than before, I feel a urge to be active. Actually, you feel this in the entire upper part of your body. You then try to let this feeling flow to your heart. 3. Sublimation of pleasure and pain. For example, crying can transform you. Then it is time to do this exercise. Force yourself with all your might not to cry. The same applies to laughter. When you feel like laughing, try not to laugh but to remain calm. This does not mean that you should no longer laugh, but you must control yourself and become master of your laughter and tears. Once you have overcome this a few times, you will soon feel a sense of calm and equanimity. Allow this feeling to flow through your entire body, pouring it from your heart first into your arms and hands so that it radiates through your hands into your actions. Then let it flow to your feet and finally to your head. This exercise requires serious self-observation and should be performed for at least a quarter of an hour a day. 4. Positivity. One should know how to find the grain of good in everything bad, the beauty in everything ugly, and even the spark of divinity in every criminal. Then you get the feeling that you are expanding beyond your skin. It is a similar feeling of becoming greater than yourself, like the etheric body after death. When you feel this, let it radiate from your eyes, ears, and your entire skin, mainly through your eyes. 5. Impartiality. One should remain flexible, always capable of taking in new things. When someone tells us something we consider unlikely, there must always remain a little corner in our hearts where we say to ourselves, he could be right. This does not mean we should be uncritical, we can always check. We are then overcome by a feeling as if something is flowing into us from outside. We absorb this through our eyes, ears, and the whole of our skin. 6. Balance. The 5 previous sensations should now be brought into harmony by paying equal attention to all of them. These exercises do not necessarily have to be done for a month at a time. It was just necessary to specify a period of time. It is particularly important that the exercises are done in this order. If you do the second exercise before the first, you will not benefit from it at all. The order is crucial. Some people even think that they have to start with the 6th exercise, harmonization. But can something be harmonized if there is nothing there? If you don't want to do the exercises in the right order, they are of no use to you. It's like someone who has to take 6 steps across a footbridge and wants to take the 6th step first. It's just as nonsensical to want to start with the 6th exercise.